Searching a couple of things, and I was thinking, you know what? Has anyone done anything new on these two topics that I'm revisiting? So I just decided to go and look at them, and that's what happens. I just start thinking, you know what? Whatever happened to this? Whatever happened to that? So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and revisit NASA and Richard Gutjahr. If you guys don't know who he was, he's the guy who filmed both the Nice and I think it was the Brussels terrorist attacks. He was the only one, the only footage, interestingly enough, and just seeing what he's been up to, and then that kind of dives into what happens next. If people want to join, you may. I just ask that you I may mute you or I may keep you in the waiting room if you do happen to join. Just know that I'm not doing it for just to shut you up. I will let you in. It's just a lot to cover first, and I would really like to discuss the topics on hand. If you know a lot about, if you were watching and observing and listening, so just so you know. Hi Kathy, how's it going? Alright, let me just finish up something right here so I could post it on Gab. I think what I'm gonna start doing is right here. Oops. I should just start moving over to Steemit. As far as like letting people know on Gab. But no, I think, you know, until YouTube does something differently, maybe not. Okay, so enough of that jibber jabber. To the meat and potatoes. Okay, so I'll get to Richard Gutjahr later. I'm just gonna do some little bit of stuff. I think. I'm just gonna play back some videos, if you don't mind. This one's a short one, and don't worry, I'm not a flat earther, but this is an interesting video.
It was all recorded on these telemetry tapes. So where is this hard evidence?
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Could this be true? Mankind's first interplanetary exploration and the original science data is missing?
11, this is Houston, radio check, over.
If it's anywhere, it should be here at NASA's Goddard Space Center in Maryland, home to the National Space Science Data Archives.
This film you're making now, what is it?
This is a film trying to prove that Apollo 11 happened.
Does it have a name? I mean, do you have a name for it yet, or are you?
I'm calling it Did We Go?
Did we go? Okay. Okay.
Doesn't have it either. The Smithsonian doesn't have it. Johnson doesn't have it.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
All right, so I'm not with the flat earthers, not yet. Who knows? But that you know, this is something we all know. But I mean, come on. We probably have so much data and historical records on so many other things and some trivial ass stuff. But going to the moon is probably the most historic achievement mankind has ever had, and we can't do it again. Here's another one. It's very a lot of views, 1.8 million. I think, you know, it's starting to be about the whole flat Earth thing again. Regardless of what you think about flat earthers, and you know, I'm with you probably. I'm with you, but they do have good logical reasoning skills of the current evidence that exists.
Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another controversial Better Mankind video. I think subconsciously there must be a part of me that enjoys the onslaught of nasty comments when I make videos like this. But the fact remains that there's way more evidence that supports the theory that we never went to the moon than there is to support that we ever did. Now, there are many reasons that prove we never went to the moon. To mention a few, you have the wavy flag in a zero atmosphere environment, the lack of any blast crater underneath the lunar module, or how about the absence of stars in space? The problem with any of these arguments is that NASA seems to have an explanation for every single one of them. Therefore, people like me and other moon landing deniers are referred to as a bunch of crazy tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy kooks that need to up their medication. So in this video, I'm only going to address a single discrepancy that NASA themselves have admitted to on more than one occasion, and will prove without a doubt that we have never even left low Earth orbit, let alone landed a man on the moon. But first, let's go back to school and get a refresher course on the different atmospheres surrounding the Earth. Now, the following information is critical to proving my point, so please bear with me. First, we have the troposphere. This is where all of our weather occurs, and it is the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It starts at the Earth's surface and extends up to a height of 4 to 10 miles. Next, we have the stratosphere, which extends to about 35 miles above the Earth's surface. This is where our ozone layer resides and protects us from those dangerous UV rays. It is also the layer where aircraft travels, as it is free from weather disturbances. Now we go up to the mesosphere, where most meteors burn up on entry. The mesosphere stretches up to 50 miles above the Earth's surface. Next, we have the thermosphere, and this layer extends up to 400 miles from the Earth's surface, and the air here is very thin. Also, temperatures here start to get really hot, ranging anywhere from 200 to 500 degrees Celsius and 500 to 2000 degrees Celsius in the upper region. And last but not least is the exosphere. The temperature in the exosphere can vary from 0 to 1700 degrees Celsius. The exosphere is the outermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere and is around 6,200 miles from the Earth's surface. Now, according to NASA, low Earth orbit is around 1,200 miles from the Earth's surface. So before I tell you the reasons why it is impossible for us to go beyond the exosphere, or for that matter, even past the thermosphere, have a listen to what some NASA experts have to say about this topic.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Hang on. So what you're saying is that in order to send humans through this region, we need to solve the challenge of getting through the Van Allen radiation belts? But I'm confused. Didn't you already solve this challenge back in 1969 when you sent astronauts to the moon, and subsequently 5 other times after that?
But we're also really pushing the boundaries in terms of where we're going forward with exploration. I think humans are naturally driven to do this, and this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit. I certainly plan on being around to see that.
So she's a NASA astronaut, but I guess no one bothered to tell her about the first time that we left low Earth orbit. I guess she might be a little too young to remember. Here we have another astronaut that wasn't told about the moon landing 48 years ago.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Once we travel beyond low Earth orbit, the crew will be exposed to larger amounts of radiation. So we have to design both the crew protection systems and our electronic systems to withstand this radiation.
So that would mean that Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin were a tough bunch of SOBs able to withstand all that brutal radiation, considering these challenges are still yet to be solved. So how is it that we had the technology to achieve this amazing feat back in 1969, but we're still working on the technology in 2017, almost half a century later? Well, I managed to find a very clever and well-informed astronaut that will totally straighten things out for us and explain exactly why we're not able to return to the moon and break through those Van Allen radiation belts. Have a listen to this clever chap.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
This guy, oh boy. Here's a real life example of what can happen to you when you're exposed to all of that outer space radiation. And if you're a child with aspirations of becoming an astronaut, being a very good liar might be a positive attribute to have on your resume. Now, just by showing you these admissions of guilt by NASA, I can easily end this video now, and I would have easily proven my point without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm sure that for some of you hardened skeptics out there, this damaging evidence is still not enough. So let's take this theory of mine to the next level. This here is the lunar module now proudly displayed at the National Air and Space Museum. According to NASA, the primary materials used to build the module were aluminium alloy, stainless steel, titanium, nickel steel alloy, heat-resistant glass. Now, if this is the case, we have a very serious discrepancy here. If you remember earlier when I went through the different atmospheres that surround the Earth, both the thermosphere and exosphere have temperatures ranging from 0 to 2000 degrees Celsius. So I decided to examine the melting points of the primary metals that were used to build the lunar module. First off, we have the aluminium alloy, which has a melting point of 463 degrees Celsius. Next we have stainless steel, which has a melting point of 1510 degrees Celsius. Then we also have nickel steel alloy, which melts at 1453 degrees Celsius, and of course the heat resistant glass for the windows, which has a melting point of 760 degrees Celsius. So this would mean that the lunar module, along with its occupants, would have disintegrated well before it even passed through the thermosphere, let alone surviving the Van Allen radiation belts in the exosphere. To protect the astronauts from the Van Allen radiation belts, the lunar module would have required 6 feet of lead shielding. But here's what they really had for protection.
Obviously, the only shielding they had was the literally paper-thin outer hull of aluminum, and their suits consisting of glass fiber, some aluminum fibers, and silicon rubber.
It's very interesting concerning radiation that the astronauts were protected by a thin film of aluminum, when here on Earth they put a lead shield on us when they take a dental x-ray.
In conclusion, when NASA themselves admit to never having left low Earth orbit, and the fact that we don't even have the materials that could withstand the extreme temperatures and cosmic rays in space, how on earth can anyone believe that we ever went to the moon? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like my content, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe to
one of the other things from way back that I also covered this a little bit when we had a pretty decent fun talk. We talked about, or I actually showed a video of 2 people talking about, 2 engineers mind you, talking about how they could have had a battery pack that could have lasted so long on the moon, and how it could have survived such extreme temperature changes on the moon as well, on the surface of the moon. Because the surface of the moon, when it can be very, very hot, and it can be very, very cold. Not to mention a couple other things about the Mars rover, how heavy it would need to be, the tracks, the treading. Anyways, you can look at it all. NASA actually has a little brochure where you could actually examine the details of the rover and everything like that, and some of it won't stand up to scrutiny very well. Okay, so what has NASA been up to? I mean, are we getting closer to the moon yet? No, but it does look like NASA satellites made a magnetic discovery in turbulent space near Earth. What is that? MMS, NASA's Magnetosphere Multi-Scale Spacecraft, has detected magnetic activity occurring in a new and surprising way in the environment of near-Earth space. Earth is surrounded by charged particles known as plasma. Most of these high-energy particles are deflected by the magnetosphere, which is the protective magnetic field that surrounds the planet. As Earth's magnetic field lines absorb this energy, they stretch and eventually snap, releasing powerful bursts of particles toward Earth, which in turn can endanger satellites, spacecraft, and astronauts in space. That's kind of nice to know. I mean, that would have been nice to know before you sent astronauts and satellites up there, and obviously it's not a problem. But anyways, that's the latest news for NASA. Nothing as far as going back to the moon yet, because they feel like it's not important. They feel like satellites and stuff, collecting this data is important. As we explore deeper into the solar system, hell, why don't we get back to the moon? I mean, yeah, we're gonna need to know a lot. Let's get back to the moon. Everyone wants to get back to the moon. I want to get back to the moon, if we were even there in the first place. Anyways, that's it for the NASA stuff. NASA is nowhere closer to exploring this solar system than we were 50 years ago. Richard Gutjahr, if you guys don't remember Richard Gutjahr, there's a great Wikipedia for you guys to look at. He's a German TV presenter and blogger. He's known for covering terror attacks in Nice and Munich in mid-2016 with a mobile phone. So I just kind of wanted to see what he was doing lately, and I noticed that he gave a tech talk, conspiracy theories, how it became fake news. We're gonna watch that 21 minutes and 34 seconds snippet. He was a co-initiator of LobbyPlag. I never heard of LobbyPlag. It's a web platform aimed at publicizing the influence of lobbyists on politicians in connection with the proposed EU data protection regulation. The research results, which may prove, among other things, that parliamentarians have written off large parts of those from lobbies, made international headlines. I didn't hear about those headlines. Maybe we could use LobbyPlag in the US. Would we want to? And then if we go to LobbyPlag, of course, in Wikipedia, there's absolutely nothing about it. So you're going to have to understand German and figure things out for yourself. What's interesting is I just wanted to see who else founded LobbyPlag, and guess what? Here we go. There's an article from Euronews in 2013, which is funny. This is way before Richard Gutjahr filmed the two terror attacks. And so, I mean, you can see here, Euronews.com, 2013, 02/14. Okay, a team of German blah 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 blah. Okay, well, no. Let's read the whole thing. A team of German journalists and developers concerned about data protection legislation have launched an online platform to expose the copy pasting of lobbyists' position papers into EU legislation. It's called LobbyPlag and is aimed to denounce deregulating influences such as eBay's or the European Banking Federation's on EU committee members' amendments to the draft of General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. This law, planned to take effect in 2016, is intended to replace previous obsolete directives and unify data protection within the EU. Richard Gutjahr, one of the LobbyPlag founders, explained on Euronews how the idea came to them. Max Schrems, an Austrian student, taking Facebook to court over privacy concerns. Has anyone done that ever? Maybe even in the US? Have been copied word for word into EU committee members' amendments to GDPR. Anyways, after a few sleepless nights and numerous conference calls, the beta version of LobbyPlag was born. Now, up to 6 people work on the site to develop and maintain it all for free. So they had a beta version of LobbyPlag and 6 people working on it for free. And let's see what happened to Max Schrems. I mean, he's just an Austrian student. So here we go with Max Schrems. He's 30 years old now. I mean, that would have been 5 years ago. He would have been 25 years old. And Max Schrems is an Austrian lawyer, author, and privacy activist who became known for campaigns against Facebook for privacy violation, including his violations of European privacy laws and alleged transfer of personal data to U.S. National Security Agency as part of the NSA's prison program. Schrems is the founder at OYB, European Center for Digital Rights. He's the founder for that, and also co-founder of LobbyPlag. Let's see. I mean, this is a lot of stuff. I mean, he's just an Austrian student who sued and won. Class action suit against Facebook. Look, dubbed the press as a David E. Goliath suit, estimated to be the largest class action privacy suit ever brought in Europe, and won against Facebook. I don't really remember hearing about that, but I mean, you win something like that, you're probably going to make a lot of money. But anyways, it says here, complaints filed against Facebook and Google under GDPR in 2018. And, you know, we notice GDPR quite often. So he basically created LobbyPlag, which found issues with the GDPR, and so helped to rewrite the GDPR. And it used the GDPR that was rewritten to file complaints against Facebook and Google, and won. And it says 3 complaints totaling over 3.9 billion euro were filed. I don't know how much they won. Awards and honors. Anyways, a lot of stuff. So we'll probably hear a lot more about this kid. I'm sure. Maybe. I don't know. My God. This is the... So, wait. This guy has leaked documents. So this guy leaks documents? Or whatever. However they do all this stuff. And he's fine. He's probably a billionaire right now. A billionaire you never heard of. But Julian Assange does the same thing. And he's cut off from the world in the Ecuadorian embassy for greater than 2.5 months or whatnot. Anyways, that's LobbyPlag. The new Wikipedia. Privacy people. Richard Gutjahr, the guy who filmed 2 terror attacks, who just kind of came up with something with an Austrian student who ended up filing a lawsuit against Facebook and won. I mean, is that amazing? I mean, isn't that like the most amazing thing you've ever heard of that you've never heard of or heard about? All right, let's go to Richard Gutjahr's TEDx talk. I used to watch TED Talks. I don't watch them anymore. I don't know about you guys, but I can't stomach them.
a story about love and hate, a story about trust and despair, a story about the internet and how it can be actually turned into a weapon. This is my story. My name is Richard Gutjahr, and according to what you can read on Google or Facebook about me, I'm a terrorist. I'm a mass murderer. I'm a member of a secret society called the New World Order. A little while ago, my family and I, we moved to southern France. We found ourselves a beautiful place, like near the city of Nice. We lived that kind of a French life that we always dreamed of, like with our little kids picking up the French language. Bonjour maman, bonjour papa. It was just beautiful. It was living in a dream, until that very dream turned into a nightmare. It was over July 14th last year, the French National Day, and we decided to take a hotel at the seaside in order to watch the festivities, the parades, the great fireworks. So I was standing on the balcony of that hotel and taking pictures with my smartphone while my wife took the children downstairs to the street because they wanted to buy balloons across the street. And I was filming, and I'm showing you some footage of what I was filming, and maybe you remember that day then. Under the sound of massive gunfire from outside, my wife and the children made it back to the hotel room miraculously unharmed. They locked themselves into the bathroom while I was heading downstairs in order to find out what was going on. I'm a journalist after all. That is my job. So the pictures downstairs in the lobby, they were just horrifying. People covered in blood, people in shock, and outside the building there were bodies lying on the street. 86 people died that night. Hundreds were injured, thousands were traumatized by the truck plowing through the crowds. Only 8 days later, I was back in Munich, the city where I grew up and where I work. Every other night, I present the news at the news channel, public German television. So I was back in Munich. I actually, initially, wanted to take a break, but then I thought, maybe, like you go back into your daily routine. That might help to get over those images that are haunting you. So I was sitting in the car when all of a sudden my eldest daughter called me. And she said, "Dad, I'm at the local shopping mall and there are gunshots." It was only 10 minutes later I found myself at the very entrance of that shopping mall. My daughter called me up again and she said she made it to her grandmother's house, which is nearby, so she was safe and sound. And me standing in front of a shopping mall surrounded by heavy armed police forces. 10 people died that day. Hundreds were injured by a mass panic. The whole city of Munich was in a lockdown for hours. And here I was yet again in the middle of it all, reporting. Little did we know, my family and I, that the real terror for us was yet about to begin. And it began harmless, like very unspectacular. It began with a few tweets that popped up at the very next morning, like on our social media accounts. Now, those messages popped up and became wilder and wilder in our own private accounts. There were people claiming, from all over the world, that we, my family and I, were actually Mossad agents, and we conducted those crimes, those acts of terror, and that we are actually part of a secret elitist society who wants to overthrow the world. Now, I'm a journalist, I'm familiar with shitstorms, but this really was beyond any regular shitstorms. This was a shit tsunami. And just that you understand how it feels like when your name pops up every morning when you open your Twitter, your Facebook, or even YouTube. Here's just a little glimpse on all the videos that you still find online when you Google my name.
Richard Gutjahr is a fan. Richard Gutjahr is a fan. Richard Gutjahr is a fan. Richard Gutjahr is a fan.
Richard Gutjahr, one of the most talked about names in the last few weeks on social media.
He is actually a German journalist. His wife is a current Israeli politician.
Ora, questo giornalista è sposato con una ex parlamentare israeliana e ha lavorato alla CNN di Washington.
And it gets even juicier. She's an ex-Mossad agent. That's Israeli intelligence, people.
You must be wondering who this pretty-looking young woman is. You cannot make this shit up. The daughter of Richard Gutjahr.
Let me tell you something, little girl. You're a bitch. And your father does not love you. And we were talking about the fake Munich attack, the fake Nice attack, among so many fake attacks. Richard Gutjahr is a traitor to humanity. Expose him for being the liar and the treasonous bastard that he is.
Richard Gutjahr, you are done. Watching you go down will be fun. Richard Gutjahr.
Just a quick message for our boy Richie. Richie. Because I know you're watching this, Rich. And just so you understand, if you're going to proceed with your actions, you do know the repercussions, don't you? Your daughter, hint hint. You, hint hint.
This is a war. If you're listening to this, Richard Gutjahr, welcome to your hell.
This family has no shame, people. This is a traitorous criminal family.
This is going to follow them around for the rest of their stupid lives.
When you become the target of conspiracy theorists, there are several stages that you go through. In the beginning, we're just trying to ignore this. My wife and I, we said, let's keep a low profile, so no Twitter, no Facebook. For online junkie, for me, this was like cold turkey, but it was doable. Guess what? That didn't work. Because the longer we kept silent, the wilder those accusations actually became. And all of a sudden, even friends, relatives, co-workers started to ask me questions such as, well, Richard, if you're like really innocent, why don't you speak up? Now, if I would speak up, of course, they would say, yeah, all right, he claims to be innocent. Everybody who's guilty would say so. So you see the problem here, right? No matter what you're doing in such a situation, it's going to be worse. It's a Kafkaesque situation. So the weeks and months went on, and the rumors and the accusations became even wilder. So we're facing the second stage of what you go through, humor. You cannot help sometimes to face insanity with humor. Here's a blogger who claims that actually the Oslo bomber, like Anders Breivik, he didn't do it. It was actually me who killed those 77 teenagers back then in Norway. And how did young Sherlock find that out? Telling you, because of the similarity of our ears. Why didn't the police see that? So the third stage that you go through once you're like targeted by conspiracy theorists is indignation. Now, I'm a strong believer and defender of free speech. Hell, my whole profession as a journalist depends on freedom of speech. It is one of the most valuable rights that we all possess, and we really need to take action that nobody takes that away from us. But slandering, harassing innocent people online and offline, that has nothing to do with freedom of speech. I mean, this is personal. This is as personal as it can get. You can destroy lives with that. Now, I turned to Facebook and to Google, the parent company of YouTube, and I told them, look, there are like hundreds of videos floating your network. This cannot be something yet that you had up on your mind when you established those platforms, right? So please, I mean, remove them. Well, guess what? They didn't. Deliberately said, no, we're not going to do that. Because for Facebook and Google and platforms like that, there's only one religion, and that is scale, scale, scale. Like grow more and more audience. And my family and I just happen to be collateral damage. So the most depressing moment for me actually was when the powers that be at my work said, well, Richard, that was great reporting that you did that day in Nice and later in Munich. We had great ratings on our television station. But whatever happened to you like after that, that has actually nothing to do with us. That was the moment maybe when I broke, when I fell into a deep depression, when I asked myself, what does words like good and bad, wrong and right actually mean anymore in this society? And I needed really good reasons these days in the morning to find a reason actually to get up in the morning. Now, right when I was thinking about like even quitting my job and like canceling and erasing all my social media accounts, all of a sudden a message appeared on my computer screen. And it read, "Hello, Richard. My name is Lenny. I saw the online chatter on YouTube about you, and I feel for you, because I've been there." 5 years ago, Lenny lost his 6-year-old son, Noah, at the Sandy Hook school shooting in Newton, Connecticut. That day, a lone gunman killed 20 elementary school kids, ages 5 and 6, and 6 teachers. Ever since then, Lenny and the other parents get harassed by despicable rumors and harassments. People, so-called hoaxers, say this school massacre never took place, that this was all a setup, a staged event, that his son actually never existed, that his son actually is just an actor. Lenny and I, we talked many, many times online, and he told me about the so-called truthers, the so-called hoaxers, people who get a kick out of it to have that power over other people, and who actually also get paid for their work by YouTube. Now, Lenny told me, look, Richard, you can either continue whining or you start to get back on your feet and start fighting. It's going to be hard, it's going to be long, it's going to be painful, but you can actually do something against it. And so I did. Not only I took one lawyer, I took 2 lawyers, and from that day on, they took care of Facebook and of Google. So we keep on like telling them this is wrong, we have this court order, so we're really a pain in the neck. And you know what? It feels really good to have somebody speaking up for you, finally. But that is not the whole deal. You know what does feel even better? To get yourself out of your misery, to actually find your voice again and come to a place like this. And finally, here I am speaking about my last year in public. And I feel very thankful for TEDx Marrakesh. I feel very humbled to be here. I feel alive. Thank you. Despite all the pain, all the tears, all the discussions that my family and I had gone through throughout the last year, here's some lessons that we've learned. First, be alert. Anyone, I mean it, any one of you can become a target of a conspiracy theory at any time over anything. Yeah, it's not just politicians, it's not just actors or journalists. Like, we all are celebrities online, and we're all facing the same threats. Second, yes, expect the worst from people. Now, I know the internet is a miraculous thing. It's beautiful. It's connecting people, brings out the best of us, but it also does the opposite. But don't give up your belief in humanity just yet. Because, yes, it's true, people can be despicable, horrifying, and nasty, but they can also surprise you at any time. So accept the help that is coming from places you didn't even know from. 4, don't expect the cavalry to come to your rescue. Meaning, just because you spend so much time at your work, you devote so much time at your working place, you know, when things go bad and people do not benefit from you, your employer will actually drop you like a hot potato. Just have that on your mind. So, better seek new allies. And it's funny, like the institutions that I never ever trusted and had believed in actually were, you know, my biggest supporters, such as police officers, lawyers, and, believe it or not, an insurance company. Yeah, in Germany there is, you can actually buy litigation insurance. That is, they cover all your legal fights. They pay your lawyers and the courts to sue your adversaries. So this comes in really, really handy. 6, be prepared ahead of time. Once the shit hits the fan, you better have done your homeworks, meaning you better look out for a good lawyer and a therapist before you need them. Because at the mental stage that you're in, when everybody's just shouting at you, you have no energy for doing proper research. 7. Now this is going to be a hard one, I know, because actually I just want to love everybody and I want everybody to love me, but this one is really important. That is maybe the toughest lesson I had to learn. Show no mercy. Identify the pack leaders, like the worst of the scum out there, and hit them fast, hit them hard, and hit them with everything you got. Why? Because others will notice. 8, be patient. Legal fights, they can take months, even years. So just remember yourself, you're in here for a marathon. Now, point number 9, actually, my lawyer asked me to slip in, and, well, here it is. Choose your opponents wisely. So, if you get insulted, my lawyer says, please make sure that you only get insulted by rich, wealthy people, because you can actually sue a fortune out of them, and your lawyer, he or she would be really happy for that because they usually work for a contingency fee. Maybe the most important lesson of them all is the next one. And this one took me a long time to realize, but it is also true. And it reads, it's not your fault. Like, there are times when you're like really miserable, really depressed, and you ask yourself, what did I do wrong? But here's the thing, there's nothing that you have done wrong. It's not about you. It's about them. And actually, it's about all of us as a society. So, We all possess a superpower to fight this. And here it is, empathy. To put ourselves in the shoes of one another and ask ourselves, how would I feel being in that very situation? Martin Luther King once said it very beautifully. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I think that is very true. I think we can all step up the game and don't leave the internet to the bullies. I don't want this to become the new normal, and we all have the powers to prevent that from happening. We just need to learn to speak up and taking care for one and another. So in the beginning I said this is a story about the internet, but that actually isn't true. This is not about the internet. This is not about technology. This is about everyone. This is about you and me, all of us. This is our story. Let's make it count. Thank you.
All right, so 3 things stuck out of a lot of things that stuck out. Oh man, I just realized that my Steemit doesn't show what I was showing. And I think I picked a big old booger too. It doesn't matter. Only people can see it are the people who want to see it. Okay, so all right. For one thing is he could have gone a different route. He kind of went to the feels to get your feelings involved. And that feeling of that if you were part of the pitting him into a realm of conspiracies just because his wife is a member of the Israeli Special Forces, a politician, that she's a Zionist and an atheist, and you know that he was a co-founder of something that was really big that changed a lot of laws around Germany. You know, he's pretty much innocent of all that, of what happened. It's just coincidental. He was the only one filming everything. All the reporters in France and Germany, I guess they don't really have reporters these days. No one else had a phone. Could have just gave his phone, just kind of like the uncensored, unedited, just you know, other photos, other videos on his phone. That's just easy. I mean, look, if I filmed something like that and people were calling me a Zionist or some New World Order guy, be like, look, well, first, all my videos would be in 1080p. Just so you know, Richard Gutjahr, I don't know if you in 2016 when you're filming on your phones that you take things and you know, you film everything at 360p. You know, maybe you're just not that good into tech, although you did say that you were, you know, it's very hard for you to go cold turkey and leave technology behind. So I'm thinking that, yeah, let's see your other photos, let's see your other videos. Are they in 1080p? Are they in that horrible 360p and you know everything's blurry and stuff like that? So that's one. That's what I would do personally. Look, I've got all these photos, I got all these videos, quality's great. What I just showed everyone isn't great. It was because reasons. Okay, so that's one. Number 2, there's 3. One of the last things he did, he's kind of went out of left field and just brought up Martin Luther King Jr. I just thought that was weird. And something else that he did, I laughed. But the second one was really important. Is the second one is that he was an advocate of free speech. That he was a reporter, journalist. That's what he does. That's what he fights for. Well, Germany's network. Well, let's go look at his stuff. I'm sorry that I should actually. You know what? I'm gonna do that. Let's see. Hold on. I gotta bring myself back so people can see what I'm seeing. I'm not gonna share screen. Admit. Yeah, there we go. I hate doing this, but it's the easier way. So, why getting tough on Facebook is a defense of free speech. This is in straighttimes.com opinion. It's an opinion, so obviously it's not really fact. It's an opinion. Germany's Network Enforcement Act has been controversial from the start. After the act, this is in February 20th, 2018, by the way, according to which social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube could be fined 50 million euros for every obviously illegal post that is not removed within 24 hours of receiving a notification, entered fully into effect last month. There was a tremendous outcry with critics from all over the political map arguing that it was enticement to censorship, which it is. It is. I don't know how. Anyways, that is. Well, here we go. If the algorithm doesn't do the job of silencing less privileged voices, online trolls often step in, directing hateful and threatening speech at whomever they choose. Not all the time. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna do some hateful and threatening speech, it's usually probably due to some assholes, maybe some cunts, maybe people who are corrupt, part of the 1%, part of the elite. Yes, you are part of the elite, Richard Gutjahr, if you do not know that. Not that I'm threatening you in any way, unless you're obviously corrupt, then you might have to worry someday. Women and minorities are particularly likely to be victims of online harassment, but anyone may be targeted. German blogger Richard Gutjahr, for example, became the object of conspiracy theories and a target of intense harassment after being present at 2 terrorist attacks in 2 weeks. No, that's not it. He filmed and was the only ones who filmed the terrorist attacks within 2 weeks. And it was horrible, well, yeah, horrible atrocities, of course, but horrible filming. I'm sorry, but I mean, my 1080p 2016, I mean 2 years ago, 4K was out by then. You're a millionaire. How do you not have a phone with like 128 gigabytes of just your micro SD card and your normal 64 gigabytes of I'm getting technical again, but honestly, okay, so yeah, so he's all for free speech, but not. He's fighting against harassment and online bullying, and that's okay for censorship. That's you know, free speech is only free when you can afford it, I guess. I think the fact that this is Richard Gutjahr, of course, suing people for utilizing their free speech. And of course, it costs a lot of money for people to defend themselves. Okay. Says show no mercy. I think that was another fun one. He was saying, you know, love everybody. I love you. You guys love me. Whatever. Show no mercy. I wonder who. Because here's the thing. If he is suing for defamation of everything that someone says, like I think I saw PK Boston up there. Did PK Boston get sued, or did he just get taken down? I mean, did Richard Gutjahr actually follow through on what he said he would do and sue people? And Did he do that? I don't think so. I would have probably heard about it, maybe, in the news. And the thing about it is, if it goes into some court or one another, and another thing, it's hard for United States people to probably be tried by someone who's over in Germany or France. But even then, if it gets to court, does Richard Gutjahr have to kind of defend himself to show that and prove that he wasn't really conspiring, like a lot of the conspiracy theories allege? Because wouldn't that be a bigger blow to the conspiracy theorists than just taking whatever money that these conspiracy theorists have, which I'm pretty sure they don't have that much. I mean, some Patreon accounts are pretty good, but I mean, whoa, there's the little bat. And hold on for a bit. Okay, it's over there. That bat likes to charge me. All right, hold on. Anyways, while I get my bat suit on, I just wanted to say, you know, I just kind of want to revisit the situation because I feel like Richard Gutjahr has been forgotten. I kind of don't want to forget about him, or don't want people to forget about him. And you know what? He was so lucky to catch all those. Why isn't he still out there? I mean, is it just stroke of luck or bad luck? I mean, he didn't have to film all that stuff. I mean, he was reported and whatnot, sure, but I'm pretty sure he was pretty set monetarily before all those things occurred. Sorry, I'm dressing up to go catch a bat, so that leaves this early. Anyways, I hope that was helpful for people. Oh man, I need to shave because my mustache is starting to get into my nose. Yeah, you know what? I might be a little bit crazy because I live with bats in the basement. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong about some things. Oh yeah, there's the bat. Maybe you can see the bat coming through. Anyways, that's it. Hope you guys have a good weekend. You may see me tomorrow, but I'm catching a bat, and I'll see you.